And we are live again, one more time for Live with Denise. How are you guys doing? I hope you are well. I hope you are fine. I hope that you are enjoying your day, enjoying your week, enjoying your summer, and ready and raring to go for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic: how to be happy during difficult times. But before we get to our guest speaker, I want to give you some instructions first. Remember, put your name in the comment box. Tell me where you're streaming in from, and like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. And let us know what you'd like to hear during this session. I'll be speaking to the famous Eva Forde, the rich social worker, and she'll be talking to us about how we can be happy during difficult times. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything like that to share, just leave it in the comment box and I will look at the comments when we're finished talking. So feel free to share right now so that you can invite your other friends to come and listening on the conversation. So it is time to talk to Miss Eva Forde. And we are so happy to have Miss Forde on. Hey.
Our viewers won't know that we go way back.
Way back.
Way back.
All right, so I'm going to open the floor for you, and I'm going to ask you, number one, you can feel free to share with the viewers how we got to know each other. And two, I want you to tell us your journey. Tell us a little bit about how you've made that transition into becoming the rich social worker. Take it away.
All right. So, Denise, thank you so much for having me. It's interesting, though, because, to the viewers, Denise and I have known each other since, it's interesting because we knew of each other before we knew each other.
Right.
I think maybe you knew of me before I knew of you. Anyway, met in Jamaica, but we had both been in Taiwan as missionaries around the same people, had the same kind of friends. And from what I understand, yeah, exactly. And you told me that when you went to Taiwan, because I went before you, years before, but evidently people said to you that you reminded them of me. Fast forward years later, and we meet, and we're like, oh my gosh, you're in Taiwan, you know this person, you know that person, and it's been a love affair ever since. So I'm living vicariously through all of the work that you do, as it relates to, sending people overseas and doing all that work. I mean, if I could, those are some of the best days of my life. If I could, I'd go back. But anyway, that's how we know each other. And I guess my personal journey, it's interesting because actually the story connects, because when I was in college, and I was going to college at Oakwood University at the time in Alabama in the US, and I did not have a major. It's a 4-year university, and I had no idea what I wanted to do at the time. And into my second year, someone suggested that I look into social work. And so I ended up doing that right before I went to Taiwan, because I had already decided I have no idea what I want to do with my life. And my cousin encouraged me, because she was in Korea at the time. So she encouraged me to apply as a missionary. I got in, and then right before I left, I decided on social work. So I went to Taiwan knowing that I was going to only be there for a year, and then I'd go back and do social work. And I kind of fell in love with that international experience, with the travel, with all of that. But I do remember being on the bridge in Taiwan at some point and thinking, oh, this is so great, but I have no one to share this memory with. And I remember thinking, this is kind of a pivotal moment. Like, I need to remember this feeling of being appreciative and grateful, but sad at the same time. And I need to figure out what this means. And so I think it's kind of apropos for the conversation that we're having tonight about happiness, because, going back to the US and university and studying social work and being a person that is always very introspective. I try to be introspective, and I'm a naturally introspective person. So this topic is something that has kind of just been a theme of mine. I've just been chasing what does this mean, and how do I manifest? Is it joy? Is it happiness? What is it? Does it need another person? Right. Does it depend on the weather? Like, what's going on? So that's been really something that I've been paying a lot of attention to over the years.
Okay, so your quest for basically what's the purpose of life, what's the meaning of life, has led you down this road to starting your business, Rich Social Work, and we'll talk about that at a later time. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I chose this topic was because I put up a simple post on my Facebook page, and the post just read, "Are you happy?" And the number of comments people were saying, and most of them were saying they were not happy. And then some were saying, well, yes, sometimes I'm happy. I'm not sure if I'm happy. So the first question I would like to ask you, Eva, then is, what is this definition of happiness that you walk around with in your mind? Because it seems as if people don't really know whether they're happy or not.
Yeah, I think happiness, it's interesting because people describe it differently, but happiness is really temporary. So you get a surprise visit from your favorite person in the world. You're happy. Right. Let's say you get a gift on Christmas, if Christmas is your thing, and it's the thing that you've been wanting. You're happy. So, but we can't expect that feeling of happiness to last. It's just like we don't expect the feeling of sadness to last, or we don't expect any feeling to last. This life is dynamic, and our emotions are also dynamic. So they're there for a reason. I mean, I wish I had the absolute numbers on this, but there's something like, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know how many thousands of emotions that there are, and yet the average person fluctuates between about 12. And so, and that's because of, our habit. We've been taught, and we've been asked, are you happy? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you upset? And so we think that that's the range. And that's actually, we have capacity to experience many, many more emotions. And so this idea that happiness is supposed to stay all of the time, I think is a farce. Now, what does stay and what can stay is contentment, joy, right, gratitude. Those are things that can underpin anything. So even if you don't feel happy, you can still feel joy, or you can still feel content, and you can still feel peace. But again, if those aren't emotions that you practiced, then this may sound like foreign to you. Like, what do you mean? My loved one passed away. How am I supposed to feel joy? How am I supposed to feel peace? How am I supposed to feel all of these things? I am not happy, and I cannot be happy. And again, I just, I've done enough study of this to see what the science says. And again, there's chemicals in our brains that regulate our emotions, but we habituate those emotions. And so as we practice emotions over and over and over, and as we form beliefs about our capacity to emote, then those emotions get ingrained in our systems, and they absolutely become a part of us. But just like we have practiced into habitual emotions, we can practice ourselves out of the ones that no longer serve us, and practice ourselves into the ones that do.
All right. So why is it so important to be happy? I mentioned it to you earlier today that there's just this thing in our culture where there's just this quick satisfaction that we need to get. We were dubbed the microwave generation, where we need things now to just satisfy whatever we have in our gut, whether it's to satisfy hunger, satisfy our thirst, or that feeling to want more, achieve more, get more because we want to get happy. But as soon as we get more, we go back and say, well, maybe I can get something else, because the feeling, like you said, just does not stay. It lingers. So why do we in this generation feel like we have to always be chasing happiness?
Yeah, I think social media has a lot to do with it because people only post what's going well for them. They're only
But Eva,
posting.
we had the keeping up with the Joneses long before social media came. Remember that
That's
term?
true. That's true. That's
Everybody's
true.
trying to keep up with the Joneses, to put on a certain, let me put my air quotes in camera, a
Yeah.
certain look, a certain image, and that in itself makes them, in their mind, feel like they're important, makes them happy. But then, like you said, it does not stay. It goes after a while. What is that about? Why do we desire that?
Yeah, again, we're told, or we would have been told at some point, that this is what we're supposed to aspire to. So even before social media, we had the magazines. Nobody's in a magazine, like, oh, my life is so terrible. They're in the magazines looking glamorous, looking thin, looking perfect, perfect makeup. I remember being in my 20s, probably mid to late 20s, and finding out that there was this thing called Photoshop, and feeling like, wait a minute, we've been duped. Like, everybody's been trying to live up to these impossible standards. Like, the models don't even look like that. So, what we perceive, yeah, I mean, we've been trained to aspire to this level of perfection. However, I have to say, because I coach quite a bit, and I do quite a lot of personal development training, and also just for myself. And there has been a movement, an intentional movement over the past maybe 10 years or so, where people are actually, it's a movement to authenticity. And it's a movement to be okay with being tired, or being broken, or be okay with not being okay. Again, I think you have to, the more you're in that space of personal development and self-awareness, the more you do hear this kind of unbaggaging. That's not a word, but people kind of taking off the platitudes, and they're taking off the facade, and they're, it, like, the no makeup movement, and the, just tag a beautiful person in a social media post. Like, people are trying, they're trying to wake up, they're trying to remember who they are, they're trying to be content without what society and what the media has told them that they need to be happy, because they realize that hasn't gotten them anywhere. And so maybe if I just practice saying, I appreciate myself. Maybe if I just practice that over and over. Maybe if I just look for things to be grateful for. Maybe if I pick up this book on, not trying to be a people pleaser. Or maybe if I get a therapist or get a coach, maybe I can, heal and see how I've been duped, and see, experience the true meaning of joy and happiness. Just maybe. So I see that happening.
I see it too, and I think people are just tired, as am I. I'm just tired. No more trying to fit in the box. No more trying to lose the weight to look like size 2 or size 4. I am done, Eva. This gut has got to be let free.
Yes,
Oprah. The waist trainers. Oh.
Yeah, Oprah used to talk about a happy weight. Like, what your body actually wants to be. I mean, we're just now in the last 5 or so years, maybe a little more than seeing plus size models in regular, everyday media ads. And, why are they plus size? They're actually, that's a size most people are. So it's
Exactly.
coming. I think the facade is coming down.
Yes, and that's great. All right. So another question I have for you is, you talked about people being content, and I want to ask you the question: in what way can we become content with who we are? What ways? And you said you're a coach. How would you speak to a client who's having that kind of a problem, or that kind of stumbling block where they're trying hard, but they're just not content? In what ways?
Yeah. So what I'm about to say, I can't take credit for it, but I heard Tony Robbins say it, and I thought it was so profound. The only reason any of us are ever dissatisfied is because we have an expectation that's not met. And so when we talk about being content, we have to first examine, what are our expectations? A friend of mine reached out to me. I wouldn't even say reached out, sent me a message that was not very nice the other day. And I reacted. I said, "What is this? Are you talking about me? What's going on?" So she said, "Yeah, well, I just thought that I would hear from you more often." And so I said, "Okay, so let's back up, because that's your expectation." And I acknowledge that probably I could have reached out more, but my expectation is that if there's a challenge or a problem or you're feeling away, you will reach out to me and let me know, "Hey, I need your support as a friend right now." So let's be honest with ourselves first about what our expectations are. Some of us are just not happy with life, and that's because we had some expectations that likely were even unconscious to us. We just assumed that, you're supposed to, go to school, get an education, get a job, get married, have some kids, be happy. And for whatever reason, there's something along that path that didn't work out the way you thought it was. And maybe that wasn't your script. That was mine. And so if you are stuck on that script, and yet life has given you something totally different, yeah, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be unhappy, I can imagine, if you're stuck on that script. So the key, again, you've got to first identify, what are your expectations? 95%, up to 95%, scientists say, some scientists say up to 98% of our thoughts are unconscious. So we're running on these feelings, emotions that are unconscious to us. So we need to become conscious of them. And they also say that up to, we have between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day, and most of those thoughts are repetitive. They're the same thoughts that we had the day before. So again, if you were, I had a conversation with a friend who said, "Can you believe this happened and that happened and this happened, and I'm so upset about it." I said, "When did that happen?" And she said, "It was in, 85. And at the time it was 2005. And I said, "That was 20 years ago." And she said, "Oh my gosh, you're right." And I said, "Yeah, but you're talking about it as if it was yesterday." And this is what we do. We rehearse. We rehearse those same thoughts. We rehearse those emotions. We practice them. And we think that we're supposed to hold on to that. We're not supposed to hold on to it. You're supposed to adjust. You're supposed to evaluate your assumptions, your expectations. You're supposed to learn. You're supposed to grow. And if you recognize that after 10 months or 10 weeks or 10 years, whatever, you're still holding on, that's no longer the situation. That's you. That's you. That's you. That's you. And that's okay. It's just to recognize that, hey, just like I've had the power to hold on to this for so long, I also have the power to let it go. I may not be able to let it go in this moment. I may have to practice, just like I've practiced being angry, just like I've practiced being disappointed, just like I've practiced feeling like I've been let down, just like I've practiced feeling sad or whatever. I can practice having a different emotion. It may take some time because at this point I would have created neural pathways in my brain that tell me I'm supposed to feel like that. Right. And so it may take some time to create new neural pathways in my brain that tell me, you have a choice. You're aware now. You can choose a different feeling. You can choose a different meaning to what happened. And you can choose a different emotion, right? I may have to practice that, but that's the price of living a fulfilling life. Like, you're not supposed to just stay in those 8 to 12 emotions. You're supposed to experience everything, and you're supposed to experience it fully. I mean, to me, joy is being able to sit through these emotions and just feel them. Not always fun, but just to say, ooh, this hurts. Ooh, I'm alive. Ooh, this is what it means to have a full human experience, and I'm here for it. Do you know what I mean? But that's a choice.
Right. I do. I'm glad that you touched on the topic where you were speaking to someone and the person was holding on to something for 20 years, because that's what we tend to do. Hold on to things, and it's not only one thing we're holding on. When we take a self-audit and look at the baggage that we have been holding on to, you see it's a lot of the baggage that we've piled on ourselves over the years. And many a time that is what causes the unhappiness. It drains the energy. And therefore, sometimes you can't put one foot in front of the other, because, like you said, we've conditioned ourselves to talk about this thing and to talk about how we've been wronged, or what was done to us, or what should have been our job, or we didn't get the promotion when we should have, and etc., etc. So that's very important. I'm glad you touched on that point.
Yeah, go ahead. Since I'm in the group, Happy Teachers Club, right? I'm in the group, and so I don't speak much in that group. Frankly, I'm just a little intimidated because your Facebook group is popping, and I need to get my Facebook game up. But I digress. I'm not intimidated. I really love that group. That keeps me connected to our time in Taiwan and that part of me that I love so much. But I commented because I saw so many people, when you asked that simple question, are you happy? So many people saying no, no, no. And I mean, it really hurt my heart because I'm saying no. I was
actually shocked. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But some people went and they actually explained. They said, well, I'm not happy in this area, but I'm pretty okay. And some actually touch on a spiritual factor, saying, you know, like, well, I pray and I'm a Christian, so because I believe in a higher power, that causes me to feel a little bit more content. And I do want to touch on that in our next topic. But it's quite interesting, you know, Eva, to know that people were just like, no, I am not happy. No, no, no.
If you said satisfied and people said no, I could understand. But you said happy.
Exactly.
So
it's weird. I don't know. For me, it was weird. But then even that's the exact name of the group, Happy Teachers. Isn't that ironic?
Kick them out. Kick them out.
No, so that's the reason why I actually wanted to have this session, because it was mind-boggling to me and that's why I wanted to also start with the definition of happiness, because I was wondering, are people not realizing what the definition of happiness was? And maybe because of that, they think they're not happy. I don't know. But moving on to the spiritual factor, many of us are Christians, so many of us believe in a higher power. Whether we are Christians or not, we do believe in a higher power. And through that higher power, we many of us gain contentment. If someone, say a client, came to you and said, I'm not feeling happy, I know I'm not working at my best, is that something that you would suggest for them to try to find a higher power to connect to?
So the way I coach, or when I was doing counseling is asking for what people already believe. It's not really my job to tell you what to
Right.
believe,
What to believe,
but
right.
in times of crisis, whether it's personal crisis, or we're in a pandemic crisis.
Right.
Yeah, in times of crisis, all you have is your faith. When
Mm.
money doesn't work, when friends and family don't understand, the only thing that you really have is your belief. And whether or not you believe in a higher power, we all believe in something. Some of us believe in ourselves and just our own, will and grit.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of us believe in, that the universe works everything out, whatever it is. So I would help that person. I would ask that person what they believe, and just kind of work through that belief process with them. Because sometimes we have to be reminded of what we believe, to be honest.
Right.
So we have to remember what we believe. But take, for example, this pandemic that the entire world is in right now. Many people, for very good reason, got overwhelmed, got depressed, got anxious, especially in the early days of this.
Right.
Whether or not they knew people who were immediately affected, just, the news and things like that. And for me, I really try to practice what I preach. And so I just had to go back to, what do I believe? And I happen to believe that, my name is not Jesus Christ. My name is not God. This is not my problem. I can do what I can do and try to follow the health experts. But my belief tells me that God has got this entire world under control. Even if I or someone I love is to die, I understand that being a member of the human race and being alive at this time, that life is not promised. And so this is something that I think a lot of times we don't grapple with these issues of our humanity and our mortality. And so when it comes up in our face, we're like, oh my God, no! But it's like, no, you knew this, like, this is a condition of life, death. And not to say we should be excited about death, but we've got to, again, look at these things. We got to practice looking at these things and prepare ourselves, because it's going to happen. Even if we live to be 100, we're likely not going to live to be 150. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, we're going to expire. So again, I'm just exaggerating the point that the problems of this world are not mine. Studying social work, that was something that I also had to practice early, because like the first time they took us into jail, a county jail in the city of Huntsville, Alabama, like there's nothing in there to be scared or intimidated about. I broke down. I'm like, oh my God, the system is terrible. Everybody was like, calm down. You cannot fix everything. Like, there's a reason people are in here. They will be okay. Right. And so to practice, like, not being in control of everything. And again, not trying to play God, but just, doing what I can do. And again, sometimes what I can do is turn off the news, because, that doesn't support my positive psyche. Sometimes what I have to do is, connect with friends, check in on people, because again, I recognize the things that I need to be mentally and emotionally well. And so I do those things, right? So again, it's not like I just come up with this. Like I study this, I practice it, I read about it, and so I think I and people who practice like I do are more prepared when challenges come than people who don't. And, again, we're all in this life And I think it's our job to try to make it as joyful as possible. Happiness will come and go, but make it as joyful as possible. That's my thought.
All right. Okay, so I am a former savior complex addict, recovered.
Recovered?
So I no longer try to recover, or maybe I should say recovering. I no longer try to fix everybody's problems.
Yes.
But I'm glad you touched on that. That is something that can surely drain your energy, and it really affects. I found that it affected my mood. It affected, just, the way I did life. Just because I'm hanging, I have my arms out like Jesus on the cross, and I'm hanging everybody's problems off my arms, trying to balance everything. When I was not that, I Jesus, I'm not the savior. I can pray, and if I can within the resources that I have, if I can help, fine. But I cannot put on your problems on my back. No, no more can I do that. So for those persons who are still recovering, or maybe still having that kind of complex where they feel that they must save somebody else, what tips do you have for them?
Yeah, nobody asked you to do that. And again, I think so. One thing that I have really kind of been. I'm sorry. That's true. Nobody asked you to do that.
That was blunt, but it's true. It's true.
So one thing that I have been really keen on in the last year and a half is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's a personality test. And
yes.
One of the things that it's just so I think it's so insightful. It gets some criticism, but for maybe not always being accurate. But one of the things that it reminds me is that I have a propensity to want to sacrifice myself, and that's not healthy. Like, so I didn't know that was part of how my brain works. And so that means that part of my work is to not do that. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that leads to burnout. That leads to, like, it's impossible. You cannot. I'm so sorry for that noise. Yeah, it's impossible, right? You cannot fix people. They have to decide that they want help, right? And situations have to work themselves out. And so I mean, that's one of the things that Myers-Briggs taught me. But I would just recommend anyone who has not done their Myers-Briggs to do their Myers-Briggs. It's MBTI. The website that I like, that I find gives the most accurate assessment, is called Human Metrics. And I think it's humanmetrics.com. Yeah, there's also 16 personalities. There's several. But Human Metrics, I found, always gets it right. So yeah, find out, what are your natural propensities? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the areas that need improvement? Because, you know, a lot of times we think that this is just us. We can't help it. And that's not exactly true. So we always have control. But the more awareness we have, the more control we have. And so a lot of us are just not aware. We're just not aware of ourselves. We don't know ourselves, and we don't know that we don't know ourselves. So, you know, I always recommend, you know, doing some deep diving into who you are. How does your brain work? You know, what are the influences that shaped you early on, and how are those impacting you now? That kind of stuff.
Okay. So I am going to be doing a webinar on self-care for teachers tomorrow. And while researching for that webinar, I came up on this new thing. Well, I thought it was new. This thing called positive psychology. I've never heard of it. I started researching. And it says positive psychology is the study of human thoughts, feelings, and behavior with a focus on strengths instead of weaknesses. Now, I wanted to ask you, is that particularly the best strategy for persons looking to say, be happy? Is it the best strategy just to focus on our strengths and ignore the weaknesses that we have?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of what I've been talking about tonight is based on positive psychology, but I don't think we can give a blanket statement, because some people have experienced trauma and they need therapy and they need to go back and they need to review what are those things that have shaped them, like I mentioned. And I actually think therapy, I think everybody needs therapy, at least a
Yes.
few sessions, because I think therapy really does something that would otherwise take quite a long time to figure out on your own. But when you have a skilled professional that's helping you to stop and analyze certain aspects of your personality and your experience, I think it's just so invaluable, and it speeds up that evolution process, that self-actualization process. So I recommend therapy to everybody. But outside of therapy, because therapy, we say, kind of looks back, whereas coaching, where positive psychology finds a lot of its audience, looks forward. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that outside. I'm so sorry. But
Okay.
so coaching, positive psychology, we're planning for the future, right? We're looking ahead. We're definitely identifying what your strengths are, and we are affirming them, and we are building on them. And where we find limitations, we're getting support for those, and we're practicing new habits to build those muscles, right? So I think, there's also there's a book, I don't know if our listeners have read it, called Mindset, by a psychologist called Carol Dweck. And she makes the argument that there are two types of mindset. There's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. And so the growth mindset allows you to the room saying, hey, maybe I don't know something, but I can learn it. Maybe something's been hard, but I can practice it, right? Where the fixed mindset says, I can't do it. I'm done. I'm not skilled enough. I don't have experience. I don't know the right people. I've never been good at this and I never will be, right? And so, and she also says that in different aspects of our lives, we have fixed and growth. So we may think that, oh, I have a growth mindset. But when it comes to doing that thing you don't want to do, you might actually have a fixed mindset. You know what I mean? So you might just be a positive person and have a growth mindset, but there are some aspects of our lives where we have fixed. And so it's for us to recognize these dichotomies and to practice more of that growth mindset. That again, for me, the whole goal of being here on this earth, listen, there's how many million sperm ejaculated that come out every time there's an ejaculation, and one sperm, the one sperm that hit the egg at that time made you. You know what a miracle you are? So to be here on this earth, having this life experience, is a gift. And then not to mention the amount of and SIDS and all kinds of things that can go wrong. So the fact that you're still here, living, breathing, you have an amazing opportunity to live your best life. This is what I believe. And so, you want to, I believe, again, reach that, or at least be on this journey of self-actualization, being the best version of yourself that never ends, by the way. It never ends. I thought that by this time in my life, everything would be perfect. But the older I get, the more I realize, oh, this is life is just a constant evolution of yourself, and just learning about yourself and people and experiences. It's amazing. And And so if that is your goal, to live the best life possible, to really live fully, to take full advantage of the opportunities that you have of having breath in your lungs today, then, definitely practice that growth mindset, and, get therapy if you need it, and get coaching to push you towards that unlimited future. Like, do everything. That's my thought.
Okay, I'm glad you mindset and a fixed mindset. In Jamaican term, when we say people, stubborn, or they just, older people, or he's set in his ways, stuff like that. That would be examples of fixed mindset, would you say?
Absolutely. In fact, when I was in Jamaica, Denise, my battery, girl, I'm gonna get my charger. But one of the things when I first moved to Jamaica, I was so surprised to hear people say, "I so mistake," and I'm saying, I know that's how you are right now, but did you know that you could change? Like, you could actually change. Can you keep talking for a second? Keep talking for a second.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we're still here with Eva Forde. I'm still looking in the comment box, and I'm looking for your questions. Guys, put your questions down in the comment box. The topic we're talking about today is happiness and what we can do to get happiness during this time of pandemic. And even if it's not a pandemic, even if it's just a normal day, what can we do to get happiness? Eva, just to recap, Eva started by saying that happiness is fleeting. It does not stay. What lasts is joy, is peace, is gratefulness. Those things last. But happiness doesn't. It's fleeting. It will come today and it will go tomorrow. But that does not mean that you are not happy. So seeking things that have a long-lasting value in your life would add to your sense of contentment, and add to your joy, and add to your peace as you live your life. She also talked about self-actualization, not starting something and stopping here and saying, okay, that's it, I'm done. Nope. Continually changing, continually growing, and understanding that life is a bunch of evolutionary series that will always take you from point A to point B to point C and onwards. And knowing that you've got to change as you grow and as you get older over time. All right, so we're back with Eva. Her battery is, well, you plugged in your phone, so you're ready to go.
It's charging now, yes.
It's charging now, great. So remind me, what was the last question I had for you? She's gone again.
Oh, I'm not. Am I frozen?
You're a bit frozen, yes.
Am I frozen?
I'm wondering if it's because you were charging the phone. But I think the last question I was asking you about was the talk when we talk about fixed mindset. And I'm wondering if fixed mindset is a cultural thing within the Caribbean, most definitely within Jamaica, where we were talking about people that are set in their ways, people who just don't change and who are stubborn as an ox. And you said when you came to Jamaica, there is this famous saying of "Asomestia." So whatever, Asomestia, you can't change me and me can't change me.
Yeah.
So you wanted to, you were kind of just expounding on that point.
Yeah, there are several comments like that, and I can't say that it is germane to the Caribbean, but I definitely heard it so much there. You know, people say, "Well, I'm Aries, that's how I am," or "My mother is hot, my mother's blood is hot, and so my blood is hot." I don't know what that means, but and so people really believe. I mean, they just assume and take it for granted without questioning. And before I knew better, I engaged in some debates with people about their ability to change. And, you know, they argued me down like, "No, we can't change. We can't change." So it's like, wow, okay, if you're so committed to being stuck, there's nothing I can do about it. But I just think that's a very limiting way to live, because you've given away your power. And I heard a quote. This is, "Don't argue for your limitations." And that's exactly what we do when we say comments like that. We argue for our limitations and, again, essentially give away our power and don't even realize that it doesn't have to be like that.
Correct. Okay, so Eva, your picture is frozen right now, so I don't know if you want to log out and
I
log
turned
in
off
again.
the camera and then tried to turn it back on. But
What you can do is log out and log in again. Just click back on the link
okay.
and see if you can come in. I'll just continue
Okay, here
talking until you get back in. All right. So, guys, we have been talking about happiness and the state of our well-being here. I'll be talking to a group of Pakistani teachers tomorrow. It's going to be about tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Jamaica time, which is 8:30 Pakistan Standard Time. And I invite you to come along. I will leave the link in the Happy Teachers group so you can listen about self-care strategies. I'll be talking also about how we as teachers not only need to take care of ourselves, for our families and for our own personal benefit, but also for our students. There is a direct correlation between our well-being and our students getting good grades. Did you know that? So I'm going to look at some research that proves that the more we take care of ourselves and the happier we are in the classroom, the better our students will do. So we're back with Eva now. Let me get her back on stream. And we're just going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. We're just going to wrap up. You were saying about the Caribbean mentality that we have where we can't change. And we have this thing where we say, some stay. I mean, or we say it about other persons. I should stay. Because we just expect the same behavior all the time. And to your point, it also goes where the opposite is true. When someone we've seen for years have stayed the same and they decide to change, there is that sense of suspicion. All of a sudden you change. I wonder why. Are you scamming me, or are you not being truthful? Are you not being genuine when we see somebody trying truly to make a change? What say you, Eva?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And again, I just wish more people would do the work on themselves. I think, that's the tragedy of a lot of us. We go to school, and when we leave school, we think that that's it. We're done. And, a lot of our parents never did work on themselves. And so they don't know how to help us to do work on ourselves. And,
Right.
I just think there's so much. I remember actually in high school hearing, you need to get to know yourself and trying to understand, like, what do you mean? How do you do that? And yeah, what is that? And don't I know myself? I know my name, I know my age, but it's so much more than that. And so I recommend everyone, and I like what you just said about how, how teachers show up to the classroom. And we're all teachers in some way, right? But how we show up directly impacts those lives that we're touching. And every one of us can think of a teacher that made such a great impact in our lives and what that teacher actually did for us. Just like every one of us can remember a teacher that really dampened our spirits and that really to this day leaves a sour taste in our mouths. And I guarantee you that teacher that left that indelible mark, that good indelible mark, did some work on themselves. I guarantee you that teacher was self-aware, or at least probably more self-aware than the other teacher. And so, it really is up to each one of us, to start with ourselves.
Yes, Eva, and I just wanted to expound on your point. I can remember a teacher that has somehow damaged my view of a certain subject. Because that teacher taught that subject, I didn't like that subject. And therefore, I didn't do well in the subject. And that's what I was just making that point on the direct correlation between the way teachers show up in the classroom and really the students and how well they do. just because of how we present ourselves in the class. All right. So now, give me a second. What tips, what activity you suggest for persons who are now trying to become more self-aware, trying to get attuned or to align themselves with a certain value, a certain what do you call it? Whatever integrity that they have, whatever foundational principles that they'd like to align themselves with for life. And that may include joy, peace, just gratefulness. What tips would you give them as they go forward into this new trajectory of their lives?
Yeah. So I would definitely, I've kind of recommended already, definitely look into your MBTI, your Myers-Briggs type indicator personality test.
Right.
If you need therapy. If you cannot afford therapy,
right.
There are groups online that, people are doing peer therapy, peer coaching. See if you can get some of that as well. Read. And, there's all kinds of books. There's a book that I have not read yet, but I hear it's a great book. And it's a great book for self-awareness. And it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I haven't read it, but have you heard of that book before?
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, there's tons of books. I've read so many. It's hard for me to even pinpoint one right now. But The Power of Now. That was a great book. Yeah, that was a great book. But you really just kind of want to. Here's the thing too. A lot of times, when you start doing work on yourself, it's not easy. It's very hard work. It's hard work. Okay, it's the hardest work. It's harder than the hardest math problem when you're really serious about it, because it's going to show you some things about yourself that you don't like. It's going to confront some things that maybe you buried. It's going to ask you to forgive some people that maybe you rightfully have a grudge against. Like maybe they hurt you. Like maybe they really damaged you. But again, in order to get to that core joy, peace, contentment, you're gonna have to do the work. In fact, that reminds me, there's a coach, her name is Byron Katie, and she has a program called The Work. And it's just the work of working on yourself and self-actualizing. And in every case, you're confronting someone else who wronged you. Even if that person is dead, you're confronting their memory. And it's hard work. But again, it's the work that has to be done if you want to be free.
Move on. Right.
Those are some of the things that come to mind initially.
Okay. And so that came to my mind while you were talking were things like journaling. If you're a person that likes to write, you could journaling, maybe thoughts on gratitude. Some people have a gratitude or a gratitude journal, and they would write things every day, what I'm grateful for. So that helps to recondition your mind to think. Instead of thinking of the things that it's not going my way, think of the things that are going your way, even if it's a sunny day, even if it's something like I saw a flower outside, whatever it is, just pinpointing the simple things of life and reflecting on that, enjoying the little minute things of life. When there's night out and the stars are in the sky, look up at the stars and just look at the awesome wonder that surrounds you. Enjoying the beach, the waterfall, just nature in of itself is a natural healer. And that also helps when you're trying to get to that like we say, those foundational principles of joy, peace, and contentment. And I loved what you said about getting a group. If you already have like a group of girlfriends, or if you're a guy, you have a group of guy friends that you always hang around with, have them go on this journey with you where you guys are your best buddies, and you guys cheer each other along, and you run through some ideas with them, and they're there to hold you accountable for your goals and your objectives that you set. So if you say by the end of the year, I want to do this, that, whether it's your personal life, career, or otherwise, they're saying, hey, I'm holding you accountable. You better do it. Do the work. Do the work. So having an accountability partner, I find to, it would be great to have. And of course, coaching. So Miss Eva Forde comes highly recommended by me as an excellent coach. So Eva, tell us a little bit more about your coaching business, and tell us how people now can get in touch with you in case they want, to hire you as a coach.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, which is where a lot of people get to know me. It's called Rich Social Worker. There it is, youtube.com/rich social worker. And on that channel, I primarily talk about three things: money, mindset, and motivation. But you'll get a sense of, how my style and how I coach. But I have a lot of executive clients as well who aren't social workers. With social workers, primarily, I help them to launch their online businesses. But with my otherwise coaching clients, I help them to identify the things that they're dissatisfied with. And then we create a plan on how to, work towards what they want. And, these things like growth mindset come up, and things like, practicing gratitude comes up, and retraining your brain. So those are the things that come up for everyone. It doesn't matter if I'm working with a CEO or if I'm working with a single mom. It does not matter. We're all just here doing our best. But I think, for those people who reach out to try to get coaching, that you're showing up. You're showing up to life saying, perhaps I could do better, and I want help and support along the journey to help shorten that path. Because either way, you're going down the path, but is it going to be a long, painful path for you, or is it going to be a guided path where you're getting support and you're getting guidance to say, hey, there's a pitfall right there. Hey, look out for this. Hey, what about that? So, something I highly recommend. I have coaches myself, so.
Right. And there was one person that said, once you're a coach, you need a coach.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's okay if you're a coach to get a coach, and it's okay to get a therapist. And
those on call. Yeah, I have one of those on call. Absolutely. I'm serious about this
that does not mean that anything is wrong with us. We have to demystify and tear down all these things that we put up, especially in the Caribbean culture, where mental health is stigmatized in a negative way. Just because someone needs help in a certain area does not, it does not make them okay. It just means that they need help, and you may need help too. So we need to start walls that we've built up around mental health. If someone says I'm not happy, let us find what the root cause of that is. And then from there, we can start helping each other, growing and learning and evolving over time. All right. Any last minute words? I have your email up there for persons who want to contact you, Eva. Any last minute words from you as we go?
Again, I hope some of the people that initially said that they were not happy, that the people that were the catalyst for this conversation, I hope they're watching or at least catch the replay. But, this life is supposed to be good. It's supposed to feel good. And so we have control, some amount of control as it relates to how good it gets. So let's just see, how good can it get? Just, how good can it get? Try.
All right. So you've heard it here. You've heard it all. Miss Eva Forde coming to us and telling us all about how we can become happy during this difficult season. So if you need to reach out to her, the email address is right there on the screen. We thank Eva for coming on, and the conversation will continue. So I know she'll come on again where we'll talk about another important topic for you. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Remember to like, share, subscribe. And as always, keep it locked here next week when we'll have another topic with another guest speaker. Until then, bye-bye. Bye, Eva.
Bye.